Also, Sergeant Rupert was no great help, and both of us tried to comprehend what they would ultimately do with him. What did they do with Sergeant Rupert?
Shipped him out.
Where'd they ship him to?
You know, what the hell, he was 75 years old.
So they just retired him?
Well, no, they just said, well, we're moving out, you're going someplace else. You're assigned someplace else.
So you never seen him again?
No, never.
Was no great help. His age and physical prowess was totally against him staying in the line company. We could not understand the Army's rationale for keeping him here. Fink reiterated that we should keep a close watch on Lape when we got over there, since neither of us wanted to be responsible.
He wasn't street smart.
He wasn't street smart. But actually, Fink got killed before Lape.
Yeah. Well, Fink was a squad leader. He was eager.
Yeah.
He got in the positions he should have never been in.
Yeah. He got in a predicament he couldn't get out.
Yeah.
And so he got killed.
Yeah.
Responsible for anything happening to him. I agreed, stating that it seemed unfair that we should be placed in such a difficult situation, but we both accepted it. So you guys had to keep an eye on what was going on with Fink and Lape, or with Lape, yeah. He nodded in agreement and said that this whole business of the war was unfair and unjustified. And he turned to leave, he smiled and said, for me to have an enjoyable time tonight, that he would monitor my movements. As usual, I thanked him and turned back to reading my paperback. That night at Jean's, we listened to the BBC. I was struck with heightened intensity of the bomber raids over Germany. I was no military strategist, but it seemed that there was something in the works and another offensive perhaps. I discussed the avenue of the thought with Mr. Young, and he could see the logic and the merit in my perception. As far as he was concerned, I could not come too soon. It could not come too soon, which would shorten the war that much sooner. Of course, I felt a little different about his situation because I would be playing a more active role in this initiation. Naturally, I did not convey these thoughts, nor did I think Mr. Young appreciated my full concern as it affected me directly. Mrs. Young made a batch of sweet rolls and tarts. How were her sweet rolls? Mrs. Young's sweet rolls, how were they?
Good. The bakery had a bakery shop that had the good rolls.
And how about the tarts? Tarts, how were the tarts?
Good. They were all company, all family made.
As we all sat around enjoying them with our tea, discussing the war and the day's events, and then the upcoming holidays, Christmas in England and Wales was the biggest holiday of the year, and although it was not celebrated as we did back in the States, it was looked forward to by both young and old. It was more traditional, old-fashioned time war Christmas, but with no hysteria in gift-giving or elaborate decorations in either the town, streets, or its individual dwellings. There was an unusual gift-giving, but at most one to each family member. Sometimes several family members would share the same gift. It was time for family gatherings around the dinner table and singing by the fireplace, with interludes of church services at least twice a day. There was the usual Christmas tree, lighted by small candles with no other decorations. You remember small candles and Christmas trees?
Yeah.
Did you have that at your house?
No, I was going to burn the tree down.
So what did you have?
Huh?
Did you have candles at your house in the States?
No, we had electric lights.
But they had candles there.
They had candles there. There were holes in the branches.
Yeah.
And that was real dangerous because that was all, the tree was getting dry.
Yeah. My only wish was that I could be present here to take part in a true meaning of Christmas, but that would not happen to me. The Welsh had a strong sense of identity, a hard work ethic, conservative social values, and unrelenting pursuit of family values, which I greatly admired and aspired to. These are the very same qualities that were foremost in the empathetic and my own appraisal of family life when I was at home. As I walked about outside, as our custom before I left for the night, I asked Jean what she wanted to do for the weekend. She hesitated slightly, and then she said, "Enjoyed our ride last Saturday. We'd like to do it again." I asked her if she had any other plans for the weekend, as I did notice a hesitancy before she answered. She shook her head slightly and whispered, "I detected in your voice that this would be your last weekend here." My hesitation was more of a reaction to that. I then told her that the advance party had left several days ago and was meant only one thing: we'll be leaving shortly. She said nothing, but I could see that she was affected by what I had said. I took her hand and held it firmly, caressing her fingers as I had Anne's on many occasions. The drone of heavy bombers was more pronounced for some reason, perhaps because there were so many more on the previous nights. There were also many Spitfires streaking the skies, which added to the pandemonium above us. At times we could not hear one another due to the planes overhead. How many times did the Spitfires attack the Germans, and how many times the bombers on a daily basis?
Spitfires, they were not a decoy, they were a resource to protect the bombers.
And how often would they bomb? How many hours a day?
Spitfires didn't do much bombing, they just machine gunned German installations.
How often would the bombers bomb each day?
Twice a day.
How many times?
Americans was bombed daytime, and English and the French was bombed nighttime.
So Germany was getting hit hard.
Yeah. Well, they were hitting us back, but then they ran out of equipment.
Germany was getting real hard. Was there anything left of the area you were bombing in Germany?
No. They didn't hit the churches. They didn't hit the stuff that they thought was important. They just tried to hit the stuff that was making the stuff for the army.
Wow. I felt if I was waiting for something to happen as I was counting the time before it did. It was very much like the time I would have to go to the dentist or give an oral topic in school. I would be here counting the time before the dreaded event took place. Another 2 full days, 3 more times to listen to the Lone Ranger, or more lunch periods before the fatal time to give my topic or to visit the dentist. Then it would be over. I would blunder through the oral topic or agonize the anguish at the dentist, but then it was over. The sensation of relief was sure euphoria of the dreaded task being ever and done would be overwhelm me and have me limp and exhausted for the emotional toil it had extracted from me. This feeling of upcoming events, combat, was much the same with the one glaring exception. This was a life or death proposition with no reprieve or canceling out. It would not be over with the next day or the next year. Jean stopped, turned toward me, reached up quickly and quietly, kissed me on my cheek, and then asked almost in a whisper what I was thinking about so deeply. This brought me to reality that I quickly exclaimed without hesitating, that I would miss all of this, her family, this town, but especially I'd miss her most of all. I did not want to leave, but would be content to spend the rest of my life here with her and her family.
Nah, I don't do that.
Let me reread it. Hold on. Hello,
No,
come on in. Come on in.
I'm coming.
Be careful, Claire, and have a seat.
watch the wires, watch the wires.
Be
Come on,
careful,
come on,
take your
come on.
time. There's no hurry, Claire. Take your time.
Huh?
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
How are you doing, Claire?
Okay.
Have a
Good, huh?
seat.
How's
Good.
lunch for you today?
I'm supposed to remember lunch. Must have been okay. I don't know.
Ah,
Well, I'm not a big foodie. And as
Yeah.
long as I have, I'm not starving and
Yeah.
there's food there. Now,
Yeah.
there's some food I would go,
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but so far here, some of it I haven't been crazy about, but it's all been tolerable.
No, yeah.
Well-
I'll
Something
get
to put
down
in my
there.
stomach. But most of it's been good.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
Well, you're
that new
looking
chef
well.
they brought was pretty good. He was pretty good, yeah.
What's that?
The chef they brought in. He had a little experience.
Ah,
have the captain's chair, Claire. It's reserved for you. Have the captain's chair. Have the captain's chair. Be careful.
this one.
Hi, Claire.
It's yours, Claire. Hi, Claire.
Hello.
What do we
Hi,
got
Jen.
there?
I gotta let go.
Okay, I'll take care of it. Where we're at right now, Claire, is we're going over John Jekovich. He's still in Haverfordwest. He hasn't shipped to combat
Haverfordwest
yet,
was in England.
but he's days away. He's days away, and some of the highlights were the lady and the family he's seeing are the Youngs, and he was able to get large amounts of number 10 cans of peaches and fruits.
Good to say, while he was gone, they had,
He brought it to him. He had his buddy, the sergeant, in a big 6x6. They went together and they delivered it to the cottage where the Youngs were living. And the Youngs were very appreciative and grateful.
Sure.
The whole table was full of the number 10 cans that John Jekovich brought, plus flour and sugar and everything else. And he said, this is what he told them, here's a gift from Uncle Sam. Here's a gift from Uncle Sam.
And that was a gift from
they
Uncle Sam, yeah.
understood why he was saying that.
Yeah, they understood about Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
But the sergeant approved it, but he said if the commanding officer got wind of it, there would have been trouble. So they kept a low profile. He kept a low profile. So we're right now we're days away before John Jekovich goes to combat. This is like the final days. So I'll pick up where I'm at. It's called Crossing the Channel. This is about Jean. I felt she wanted to say more, but settled by saying, "We shall all miss you terribly, and we've gotten quite attached to you." She then put her arm around me and ended by saying, "I don't know when, if ever, I've talked so much about myself to anyone or giving anyone my innermost thoughts and desires." I drew her closer to me as to acknowledge her sentiments and perception, for I was in complete agreement with her own thoughts. Not wishing to pursue it any further, I talked about our plans for tomorrow, Saturday, and a little bit about Sunday. She said that we would bicycle out a little way. This is in Haverfordwest. We'd bicycle out a little way, but not stop for a picnic as it was too cold for that. Instead, we would ride to a little inn for a snack and rest up, and then bicycle more until we got tired. I jokingly related that she would ride half the night before she got the slightest bit tired. What did you mean by that? She would ride half the bike. She was physically fit?
What do you mean, right?
You said she could ride a long distance in these mountains.
Well, she didn't do that. She used the bike in the environment, around the home in that.
So she's
But you two were the hell all.
Yeah, so she was physically fit by riding the bicycle.
Yeah, but she was up to it.
So when you would ride the bicycle in the mountains, never being at such an elevation, you were somewhat winded.
Yeah, but it was a different altitude, yeah.
But she was not winded at all.
No,
Okay, I just want to get that point again. Because she grew up in the mountains.
yeah.
Okay.
Her lungs were used to it.
Yeah. She laughed and then blurted out, I'm going to miss you terribly. I've got so used to you. I took her in my arms and kissed her as we stood in the clear moonlit night. I told her I would write and give her my address as soon as I could. We held her for one another, trying vainly to hold back the ticking time clock to prevent it from bringing us closer to our destiny. Did you ever write her when
No.
you left her combat?
No.
Why don't you think you ever sent her a letter?
Well, first of all, I was too busy. And that wasn't a family. That wasn't a family. That was just an incident.
Okay. The next morning, Saturday, we marched by platoon to the makeshift mess hall and for a series of shots. Okay, so you went to like some type of medical place to get more shots. How many shots did you get? Seems like you're always getting shots.
Right.
It seems like you're always getting medical shots.
Yeah, they take it, you go and line up, barehead, put a raincoat on, and they shoot the line on both sides, one here, one there, as you're going through, boom, 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 boom.
It seems like
boom,
every
boom.
time I read, you're in a different
Yeah,
spot getting
yeah,
more shots.
yeah.
How many shots you think you got before you got to combat?
Probably 20.
No kidding. No kidding.
Well, that was the Army's way of saying, look, you're going to be an all hell's hot acre. We got to take as much as we can.
Okay.
Shots didn't do nothing out of those things. No, it was your assisting yourself.
So let me just say something. You'd be lined up, and someone will be shooting your left arm and shooting your right arm, and you just keep on going through the assembly line.
You were bare asses with the raincoat on.
No kidding.
What was that?
Huh?
What did you just say?
I said they were bare. They had no clothes on except their raincoat.
A raincoat. That's something. I never heard that before.
Well, it makes it easier to put your
Yeah.
sleeves down.
Yeah.
Unwrap or get it to
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
The next morning, we marched by platoon, and we got a series of shots, one in each arm and one in the fatty tissue of our right buttocks. I always hated getting shots, especially in the rear, but this morning it was more repugnant, and we were also giving a short arm inspection for VD. After chow, I could still feel the shot in my derriere, and several of the men along Lape were sick as a result of the shots. You had no ill effects, right?
Yeah.
You had no ill effects.
Well, who wasn't getting a real shot?
No, Lape was feeling sick of because of the shots.
Oh.
Yeah, and he said you had no ill effects. Outside the soreness, and we looked forward to leaving shortly to see Jean. I was called to the orderly room, which was always menacing. It seemed that Sergeant Whaling wanted my thoughts on accepting more responsibilities, much as a squad leader. So they're trying to give you the position of squad leader now, right?
Yeah, it was the guy got left or they all got killed or whatever. They had to fill the ranks.
In the event I was called upon to do so, he explained to me that they were compiling a list of potential squad leaders, as well as section leaders and platoon leaders, and that my name was mentioned. I said I would accept the added responses. I said I would accept the added responsibility and had no qualms about doing a good job.
Yeah.
He said that was fine. He thanked me for my cooperation and then dismissed me. That afternoon when I called Jean and I met her, I was still mulling over my meeting with Sergeant Whalen. The conclusion I came away with meant only one thing: casualties. They were concerned about the fact we would be entering combat shortly, and a real aspect of attrition was imminent and impending. It did not particularly cause me much concern the fact that the casualties, personnel or otherwise, did not enter into my conscious state. I did not think about what would happen to me or those near to me. My biggest concern going into combat was the unknown and how I'd react to it initially. I did not want to be one botching things up for the rest of the company through my inept or awkward handling of any situation that would arise. The sight of Jean diverted me away from my thoughts, and I focused instead on how attractive she looked. She appeared stunning and captivating, and I immediately relayed those observations to her. She was pleased and thanked me, and I could see that she was delighted that she made such an impression on me. As she mounted her bicycle, I was afforded the luxury of the sight of a pair of beautiful legs. Are you in the war, or are you just dating half of Europe? Is this guy in the war, or is he just dating half of Europe, for God's sake?
He's a player.
Different one here? Yeah, you're a player. That's a good word for it. You're a player. Okay.
Well, I think part of it was that, particularly prior to World War II, during the 20s and so forth, women didn't parade around exposing as much of themselves as they
Do now, yeah.
There was a whole different
Yeah.
posture to the way you presented yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
A very good point. We headed south from Haverfordwest on Highway A 4076. The term highway was misleading, since it really consisted of a two-lane buggy trail, barely wide enough for the Army 2.5-ton truck. The ride was exhilarating. As we rode, Jean informed me that we're going to Milford Haven. That is, if I could make it there. Milford Haven was a port where we had arrived into Wales, and it was dark when we disembarked, and we did not see much of the city, as it considerably smaller than Haverfordwest, and is chiefly noted for its fine natural harbors. It was founded by the Quakers, who used it as a whaling port, and the town itself is laid out in grid fashion with the streets parallel to one another. From my vantage point in Milford Haven, you can get a marvelous and breathtaking view of the sea. I was much surprised when Jean began to name the various birds flying in and out of the coastal area. I would ask her what that particular bird was as it glided by, and she would remark, that's a spotted redshank, or that's a green sandpiper, or did you see that one? It's a spoonbill. Once she began excited and explained, oh look, there's an osprey, which are very rare and you don't see them very often. The entire area is a walker's paradise with 186 miles of coastal footpaths.
Yeah. Coastal, yeah.
Coastal footpaths, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember seeing all those birds?
Oh, yeah. Well, the birds were migrating back and forth. We saw butterflies coming back and forth, too.
No kidding.
They were migrating, yeah.
Even in that cold weather?
Yeah, they were migrating further south. They had it all figured out. That was their instinct.
Yeah.
Then when they go and everything else.
Wow.
Right down to the butterflies.
Wow. Which afforded much wonderful scenery among some of the more treacherous paths. Jean remarked that we would bicycle here many times in the summer, which explained her acute familiarity with the area. She said that she would spend the entire day walking the coastal paths, just enjoying the scenery and the tranquility of the entire area. It took us 3 or 4 hours to traverse the 15 to 18 miles to Milford Haven on a rather casual, unhurried jaunt. The temperature was a cool 40 to 45 degrees, but there was a moderate southwesterly breeze coming off the sea, which it made feel cooler. Jean had brought along a sweater.
I'm good.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
All right.
Take care. Take
All right.
care. Be careful of all the cables.
All right. Good night.
Careful of all the cables.
Watch the stairs.
Yes.
Careful of all the cables.
Take care.
Good night, Claire. Good night, Claire.
Good night, Claire.
Do you want to pick up later? Or?
Yeah, just put a pause for a minute. I'm just gonna take a